So the big thing is Delhi is voting tomorrow. And it's going to be very interesting because, like we talked about last week, Kejriwal was out of jail, but from then till now, things have really moved in Delhi with the whole Swati Maliwal incident that happened, and what appeared to be the Aam Aadmi Party scrambling to sort of find its way out of that issue. So we're going to take a look at what's happening in Delhi, particularly, and also with the rest of the phase. We'll have that conversation. I know a lot of you are asking. We'll have the conversation of Prashant Kishor versus Yogendra Yadav. Yogendra Yadav spoke to us on this channel. Prashant Kishor, we've been reaching out to a lot, but he hasn't responded to us. So we'll try and figure out why there are, such completely opposite predictions coming from these two gentlemen at this point. Our chat window is open to our, to our audience. Please come in and ask your questions, like, share, subscribe. If you like the stream, it'll pop up higher on the algorithm and more people will join us. Joining me right now, Aditya Menon, who is with the Quint, who's actually sat through this entire election with us. And it continues, Aditya. I think the strongest thing to have come out of all of this is my friendship with you. We also have Mr. Javed Ansari, who's a very senior journalist who's been tracking elections for decades, and he's gonna vote tomorrow, so he's gonna tell us what he's reading out of Delhi. Mr. Ansari, always a pleasure to sit down with you, always. And we also have Sayantan Ghosh, who joins us. He's a columnist, a researcher. He's a professor at St. Xavier's, Kolkata. Thank you so much for joining us. You can give us your point of view as well. Remember, Delhi is going to vote tomorrow. We have a lot of questions, but first, getting straight to the Prashant Kishor versus Yogendra Yadav question. That's actually my first question. Aditya, can you tell us, and actually, if you look at, if you take apart what the two of them are predicting, it's a 50 seat difference, right? Because Prashant Kishor is saying 303, which is what the BJP did last time, or better. Yogendra Yadav is saying 250, 270, and they're going to need some help to get past that halfway mark. So both of them are predicting an NDA government, in the very least. One is saying majority, one is saying minority BJP. But why do you think that there is that difference there?
I'll actually like to bring another person who engages a lot with political data, Sanjay Kumar of CSDS. He is somewhere in the middle of Prashant Kishor and Yogendra Yadav. He's saying BJP will be just about at 270, could be a few seats more, could be a few seats less. I think broadly the direction in which all three of them are agreeing on is that there has been some decline in the PM Modi's popularity. Where the disagreement comes is to the extent to which the opposition has been able to cash in on it. Prashant Kishor is of the belief that the opposition has been useless, and it's because the opposition is bad that people are preferring to vote for Modi. Yogendra Yadav is predicting that the opposition is almost entirely able to ensure the shift of the disaffected voters towards it, and Sanjay Kumar is somewhere in the middle. I think that is where the basic disagreement between the three people who have made these predictions. I think that their standpoints are also important to note. Yogendra Yadav is now more or less associated with the opposition ranks. He did join the Bharat Jodo Yatra with Rahul Gandhi, the first one. He went the entire distance. Prashant Kishor, on the other hand, is someone who wanted to be part of the opposition campaign, but the things didn't work out between them. So there is that aspect as well. So I mean, there is his views also come from the belief that had I been leading this campaign for them, things would have been different. That's why he puts the entire onus on the opposition. Sanjay Kumar, in my opinion, is the most objective voice among these because he's talking purely from the point of view of election data, and CSDS is among the most reputed agencies that engages with political data. So I think this is where the differences are at.
There's been one point of view of is Prashant Kishor actually sort of drumming up sentiment in favor of the BJP. What is your response to that, Aditya?
I don't think that he needs to do that. I do feel that a lot of what he's saying comes from his souring of relations with the Congress. And it's a little more out of irritation, some would say spite towards the Congress for not giving him the kind of opportunity that he wanted, rather than any desire to actually see the BJP win this election.
Mr. Ansari, same question for you. We're seeing these sort of different, and while in the numbers they're not very different from each other, in point of view they're very different. I want to first understand from you, do you have a number that you're leaning towards? And what is your reading into all of these predictions?
Look, I don't have a number. I'm neither a psephologist nor a political astrologer. And because of my health concerns, I haven't been able to uh, move around too much. So a lot of what I have gathered is anecdotal and from sources. My hunch is that, for one, I have not met anybody apart from Rahul Gandhi who believes that the BJP is going below 200, who believes that the BJP is not coming to power. In fact, Rahul Gandhi believes that they may even go below 200. Having said that, my own hunch is that they will be, if they don't have a majority on their own, they'll be thereabouts, say 250, 240 to 250, and that should not be much of a problem. I do believe that even if they are at 220, they'll be able to form the government because they'll be the single largest party, a pre-poll alliance. They'll be given the first shot at government making, and with their strong allies, the ED and the CBI and the income tax, and if they'll be able to swing it. How stable that entity will be, I don't know. A lot of people raise questions on whether, given Mr. Modi's nature, whether he'll be able to run a coalition. Look, I believe he will, not with the same authority, but he will, because you know when the need arises, he can be very flexible, very humble. He'll call Chirag Paswan his beta, and when there is no need for Chirag Paswan, his is a clear on, if you're useful to him, it's fine. If you're not useful, then you can be discarded. So Chirag Paswan was unceremoniously dumped out of his father's house on Janpat, right next to 10 Janpat. So that is the case. As far as this difference between Prashant and Yogendra Yadav is concerned, look, if there is one job that Prashant Kishor covets and hasn't got it till now, it's the Congress account. And the reason for that is Rahul Gandhi. Prashant Kishor doesn't just, when he takes over an account, he's not just a consultant. Then he runs the show. When he was running Modi's campaign, he was living in that house with Mr. Narendra Modi. Nobody else used to live there. Prashant Kishor used to live there. I know for sure that when he was handling the JDU account, he was living in the same house as Nitish Kumar. In the Congress party, that just can't happen. It's a 130-year, 140-year-old party. Things are very different. And they were willing to go the extra mile to try and make smoothen things out for him, set up an empowered group. But he and Rahul Gandhi, somehow the chemistry is missing. And he realized early on that Rahul was not 100% into it. And so therefore he opted out. There is absolutely, but that notwithstanding, there is no taking away from the fact that he's very good at his business. He knows his business. The kind of numbers and the kind of data that he has at his command, I don't know if anybody else in this country has that. But is everything that he's saying objective? And at least as far as the timing is concerned, one particular statement got my alarm bells ringing. He says, if the India alliance does well, then the markets are going to tank, or something to that effect. Now, he's a brand manager. He's a political manager. For him to be saying this at this particular time when Bombay was about to go to vote, so I don't really. Of course, Aditya has given you Yogendra Yadav's background. Sanjay ji has changed the goalpost, changed his position a bit. because when the election started, he felt that the BJP would go. I mean, it won't be. They do better if not they do as well, if not better, than what they did last time. Now he tends to veer on the side of the fact that they'll be around 270, or if things go very much there, if all the pieces fall into the slot, then they can get to 300. So he's also changed his position a
Mm.
bit, depending on who you talk to and which kind of media you're watching. I also happen to still get invited to one or two of these channels. So there, if you go, if you have to believe them, then Mr. Modi is winning 700 seats. But no, honestly, I was sitting by the side of a pollster on a channel, and he said, "Kam se kam 400." So I said, "Yaar, why kam se kam? I mean, why 400? Why not more?" He says,
But
80 out of 80 if in UP, if not more. I said, "What? Even God cannot give them more than 80 in UP." So if you go to the YouTube channels, and I happen to be slightly more in demand then than I am on national TV now, so there it gives you a different side of the story. Of course, they are not going crazy. They're not giving the India Alliance anywhere near. But yes, their assessment, I do believe, is closer to ground realities. Because now people are beginning to ask questions. 10 years is a very long time for a government. Or at least let me amend my statement. It's a long enough time. People want answers. But whether, so they're beginning to ask questions which they didn't in the previous two elections. But whether they believe that the Congress-led India Alliance has the answers to the problems, I'm not too sure.
Well, let me bring in Sayantan at this point. You had recently written an article about Nitish Kumar and whether or not this election might make or break him. And my question to you is this: do you agree with the statements made by other two guests that we're looking at a 270-ish number? In which case, is Nitish the ally of interest? Who are the allies really? If the BJP does need allies in the outside chance that it needs a coalition, its allies are very weak, and other than Nitish, almost faceless. Who are the allies? Where will the numbers come from? If in there's an outside chance they might need them. Yes, Mr. Ansari. Sorry, Sayantan, before I come to you.
No, look, Sayantan finished, then after he
Oh,
decided.
all right, okay. Sayantan, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Faye, thank you, Aditya, for this invitation. In class, we always discuss about the journalism of Faye, the articles written by Aditya. So when I talk to my students, but here, so I am not very good at like numbers. That is not my strong point. So I will not go into numbers. But one thing which I would like to say, what I think Aditya also pointed out, and Mr. Ansari also talked about, is that you will see that like today I will believe that when it comes to Mr. Prashant Kishor, we are giving him a lot of more importance than he should be getting at this point, because he is not doing the kind of business he was doing. Whether he's out of the business, we do not know. What he's doing at this stage is he's working in Bihar, Jan Suraj Yatra. That's a completely different kind of a thing. I think some sections of media is giving him a lot of attention, and what he's talking about, you will see that there is a pattern what he's talking. I'm not saying that what Mr. Yadav is talking about, there is no pattern. Of course there is a pattern. The objectivity of the pattern is that in 2019 also, if you read articles written by Mr. Yadav, we will see that he was predicting that okay, the opposition will do much better. But the point is what Mr. Kishore is doing, that he is now talking about all the people he has worked with, that they will do bad. Okay, Mamta Banerjee will do very bad. Okay, then
Jagan.
Jagan will do very bad. Congress will do very bad. So whoever he has worked with, now his point is that okay, now because I am not there, I am the maker of you guys. Now I am not there. how can you perform and work? Okay, recently you will see, I think in Twitter it went viral also. Jagan Mohan Reddy made a statement against Prashant Kishor, very candid statement at IPAC office. There he made a statement, okay, and which was a candid one, but not a very political one, but it was a deep statement, okay. But now when it comes to the alliance part and who are the real supporters, see, that is a very that is a kind of a space which is open. Okay, I do not have very much confidence on the political parties when after like post poll of the political parties like YSRCP, okay, like Biju Janata Dal. Maybe Biju Janata Dal BJP is now showing that okay, we do not like BJP. That is what they will have to do in Orissa. But there is no precedence that they have gone against the BJP when it came to supporting them in any way. Okay, in YSRCP, there is no precedence that YSRCP has taken a very anti-BJP stand in the recent years. Okay, Jagan Mohan Reddy. So I think if really the situation becomes that bad, then Mr. Modi and Amit Shah, they are very wise enough to get the supports from this kind of political parties. And as far as number of NDA is concerned, the BJP is concerned, I think that when the election started, because it's an eight phase election, it's a long election. When the election started and when we are standing today, we all understand that the kind of things we thought on the day one, today after five phases, things are changing very fast. Okay, that's why the narratives of these leaders are changing very fast. Mr. Modi is talking about like religion for Mangal Sutra and Hindu Muslim. Then he's saying that I am divine child. All these things are happening. So so 400 par, of course, it looks very impossible because if it was possible, then for a political party which claims to be the greatest, like largest political party of the world, and of course of India, they do not need to do negative campaign. They are doing a lot of negative campaign, like from prime minister to home minister to all the top leaders. Like, because I have ruled for 10 years, like I have done vikas and everything, right, development work. So why will I need to do this kind of like negative campaign, like after so many polls? So there is, of course, the number parties, that parties
So,
there. So
it's
that
really
is,
interesting. I have not asked y'all, mostly because I like my guests, but I've not asked y'all for your comment or your response to the fact that the Prime Minister suggested that he's been sent by God. And this was not like he's perhaps a little more than human, Mr. Ansari. So we're going into a slightly strange sort of category when it comes to now speeches.
This is now turned into a very unequal fight. Mere mortals, mere mortals versus somebody who has
Yeah.
divine status, and please be careful. Please be warned that anything you say about divinity, be we might be
Struck down.
committing sacrilege, or what can one say to this?
I know
Uh,
what can it's so strange to
I
even
I
have
have
to
you know
sort of respond.
I have covered many elections. A lot of people. I am amongst those few people whose first assignment was an election. In '87, I cut my teeth covering election, VP Singh's by-election. I have seen a lot of stuff being said in elections, but this takes the cake. From Mangal suits to buffaloes to people running away with water taps to now divine status, and there's still 2 more rounds to go tomorrow, and then the final on 1st of May or 1st of June. So I don't know where the bar is going to be set and where it's going to stop. I really don't know,
Yeah.
because I've heard a lot of things. I haven't heard this. Even by Mr. Modi's standards, this is par excellence. So, and like Sayantan was saying, that if you're winning 400, what is the need? As now, and to come back to your previous question of where they will get allies, It all depends on the kind of numbers that they get. Because these configurations, these alignments are not cast in stone. Who's to say that many of India's the parties that are today in the India alliance may not be willing to do business tomorrow? They will find reason. They say for the sake of the nation's stability and for the and uh, and to ensure that the economy doesn't tank and we continue to progress. And because of threats from China and Pakistan and Burma and Bhutan and Nepal and Maldives, we need a strong government. So therefore, I have seen Vajpayeeji's government, the AIDMK and the DMK, at one point of time, both of them were supporting that government. Could anybody believe that? I mean, we used to think that pigs would fly if this was possible. I've seen the fact that Mayawati and Mulayam Singh were literally raced each other with letters of support to the President House to support Manmohan Singh's first government. Literally, there was a car race on who would get there first to hand over the letter of support. Both of them were supporting Manmohan Singh. So it all depends on numbers, and
Yeah.
whoever is in a position to the same applies to the India alliance also. If tomorrow, by some quirk of fate, India alliance has 270 or 265 or 260, what will prevent YSR? What is YSR's problem? YSR will say, look, my father was a congressman. My mother has now once again become a congresswoman, as has my sister. There were some traces. Okay.
Yeah.
And those, it depends on the political management skills. In the political management part, I still believe that the BJP and Amit Shah and Narendra Modi are far ahead of the Congress and the India alliance at the moment, because one, that's one single party. Here, there's so many parties. You have to first look at the various angularities and all that. BJD claims to be independent, but has always leaned on the side of the BJP. So BJP will be there. Uddhav Thackeray, they'll say, okay, we've Balaji, Modi or Amit Shah will go and prostrate himself at Bala Sahib Thackeray's statue. There are lots of things that can happen.
That can happen. So in politics, they say there are no permanent enemies, right? And there are no permanent friends. You never know.
So don't rule any. At least I would not rule anything out, except the left and the Congress, and perhaps the Samajwadi Party and RJD. Everything else is fair game.
Everything else is fair game. We have a question from Malvika Sharma. Very good question. Malvika, thank you for supporting us. The money you give us in support will be used for salaries and equipment. Her question is, the EC not disclosing voter turnout data and telling Supreme Court that it's not possible. Aditya, could you explain that case to our audience, please? Because is it true that the EC is saying at this point that we're not going to publish this data? You're not entitled to voter turnout data as a citizen?
So EC's explanations are a bit strange. They are saying that we cannot publish this data, and they are also saying that if we publish this data, it could create distrust towards the system. Now, this is the first time I am hearing that we have to conceal something so that it doesn't create distrust. Usually transparency is the best way to address any possible distrust. So, I mean, there are definitely a lot of questions regarding the EC's credibility, and be it again, responding to hate speeches, they have not taken any action. To voter suppression, the kind of incidents we saw in Sambhal. Again, EC didn't do anything. We saw BJP leaders' sons trying and casting 8 votes somewhere. Those are incidents that were caught on camera. We don't know how many incidents like that have taken place outside of camera. So a complete transparency in electoral data was the bare minimum the EC could have done in this case, but they are being particularly opaque. Then regarding 17C, Form 17C, which is given to parties on the total number of votes cast in a particular constituency. They are not, they're creating problems in releasing that data as well. So I think at every point, EC, they are not releasing the total votes cast in a particular phase in absolute numbers. They're releasing it in percentages. So it has really given rise to a lot of questions that actually in some phases the total number of votes cast has actually reduced. There are people who are making these claims as well. and EC is not helping any of these matters by its stubbornness.
Yeah, and so my understanding is, Aditya, that if someone wanted to find out votes cast, they would actually have to go booth to booth,
Yeah.
because each party is entitled to that information. Then they have to collate all of that and do the arithmetic themselves, and then find out if that final percentage that they have worked out, actually agrees with the EC number, and then if it doesn't, what can they do about it? So effectively, it's just making it more difficult, right? Even for the parties to be able to track. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. Even for parties, again, after the end of polling, they'll have to go booth by booth, as you're saying. So in most cases, parties don't have so many people to sort of put in for this kind of exercise in every seat. I'm sure they can still do it in some places. I remember a few days back, DMK put out a tweet from its official handle that their cadres and their data team is actively now trying to compile the 17 seat data, and they will make it public from their own end. But this is just one party in a state that has voted a month ago.
A month
Uh,
ago.
yeah, so it's going to be very difficult for parties to carry out the same exercise in all the phases.
Yeah, so Mr. Ansari, I know I've asked you this question before, I'll ask you again. Given the latest sort of response the EC has given the Supreme Court, and everybody's asking this, right? I mean, all of these questions, this conversation we're having, the articles that everybody's writing, the traveling, the asking of questions is moot if we can't trust the Election Commission of India and they're not offering us a free and fair election. In your opinion, are we looking at a free and fair election? Should we all just go home?
Well, I have my doubts. I do believe that this is the weakest, the most effete, and the most stubborn, non-transparent election commission we've had in my 40 years of journalism. And I am also a tad disappointed with the position adopted by the Honorable Supreme Court. I say this with utmost respect to the Honorable Justices. Saying that, okay, now that the election process is on, if we interfere, at the very first instance when this application was moved, when this case came up, they should have taken a position. You give these long dates. There's no point. You can't shirk away from these. We are the largest democracy. We must be seen as the largest democracy, the fairest democracy, and the most transparent democracy, which we are not. And if you have nothing to hide, then why all the stubbornness? Every time there's a close call, people will say, this is the reason. Even if no hanky panky is going on, people will tend to believe that, tend to suspect that something wrong is. Look at the response of the Election Commission to the Prime Minister's speech when he spoke of Musalmanों को दे सबसे ज़्यादा बच्चे पैदा करते हैं. That speech when complained. He wrote to Mr. Nadda and Mr. Kharge. And now when the election is in its penultimate stage, they have said keep chief campaigners and there is general advisory. Like we used to attend these moral science classes in school. There's a general advisory: be good students, clean your nail, brush your teeth. This is the kind of thing that people should refrain from doing it. Hold the person accountable. Whoever is doing it, hold it accountable. Now we know why they got Parliament to overturn the Supreme Court verdict and remove the Chief Justice from the selection panel of the Chief Election Commissioner. This is why, so that they could turn and arm twist the EC, nudge the EC into whichever direction, and get them to do whatever they wanted. So these are all handpicked people of this government, and whichever government is in power. We've also had election commissioners during the Congress government rule whose conduct was not entirely above board. So, I mean, I'm a great one for checks and balances. This kind of absolute authority being vested in the power in one person and one entity is a recipe for disaster.
That's actually deeply distressing, and fundamentally, our democracy is based on a foundation of free and fair elections, and if we don't have that, then really there's a shadow over all of that. I want to draw attention now to Delhi. There are questions about that as well, but first let me just thank Masha Rabi for your contribution. You're talking about corruption. Will that largely be seen in Delhi as well? Avi, thank you for your contribution as well. Delhi, of course, now everyone's talking about the Swati Maliwal assault incident. It has drawn headlines and it has drawn attention away from Arvind Kejriwal's campaign, because he had 2 days between coming out of jail and when this incident happened. And in those 2 days, he said a whole bunch of things about the BJP. But since then, stuff that he said has actually not been carrying headlines as much. At the same time, though, I want to point out as a woman that women's issues rarely change voter behavior in our country. Do you think, and this is to any of the three of you who wants to answer this, do you think the Swati Maliwal issue right now will change the way Delhi votes in any direction? Whoever wants to take it.
I think Sayantan has been closely watching AAP, so I would actually like to Sayantan viewpoint on this.
Go ahead, Sayantan. You're on mute. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, as you rightly said, that the women's issue, will that be have an effect? Like, I am from West Bengal. Okay, you know that the Sandesh Khali incident, which happened in West Bengal, it created lots of noise on the ground. It's a completely issue where the woman came in front and complained about the alleged sexual harassment by TMC leaders. And so, but that also in today's political context, if you take West Bengal's context, it is not, the controversy is there, but there is no prediction that the women are voting differently this time for Mamata Banerjee, right? So in similarly in case of the Aam Aadmi Party, so there are, as I think in last program also you mentioned, there are several theories there regarding this incident, why this happened, and all these issues are there. But at the same time, I believe that uh, what BJP is trying to do, whether they are behind this and not, it's, I'm not going there. But what BJP is trying to do is ensure a swing of some voters, a floating voters, that if you see the like in terms of Delhi's numbers, you will see that whenever there is a Lok Sabha election, the party which gets all the 7 seats, where 2014 and 19 the Aam Aadmi Party, sorry, the BJP got all the seats, they got around 58, 57, 58% votes. Okay, and BJP's general standard in where they are very poorly performing, like for example in 2014, in 2000, like any assembly election there, that also stays around 35% vote share. Okay, and then the Aam Aadmi Party. So they need to. There is a floating voter of around 15%. Okay, so whoever, if this 15% votes for the Aam Aadmi Party, then Aam Aadmi Party will go do very well. If they vote for the BJP, they will do very well. So they can win the seats. So that is what the BJP is trying to, in any way, if this floating, if these people gets confused, and this sympathy for the Arvind Kejriwal, that मैं जेल में था, मोदी जी मुझे देख रहे थे, and all these things gets, my father and mother is being harassed, and all these narratives, uh, and and with this, if BJP can swing some of these voters, then it will help. I will just give two small examples. I think Aditya will be able to tell better that in Punjab election, not this one, not the last one, last to last one, the Aam Aadmi Party itself claims that the Khalistani issue, it came very later part of the election, and when it came, the situation fully changed. Like within some days, the complete narrative changed, and Aam Aadmi Party was expecting that they will do better, but it changed. If you see 2019 Lok Sabha election in Delhi, you will see that the Aam Aadmi Party was thinking that okay, they will do very well, and Congress kids alliance was not there. But you will see that like you will see that in that election the Congress did very well in 2019, and suddenly in Lok Sabha they got around 18% of vote share suddenly. Okay, and whereas in 2020, like just a year later, they got 4% vote. But this 18% vote, the Aam Aadmi Party also in the Kejriwal said in several election campaigns that the Muslims, he believes that the Muslims voted differently, and this shift happened in the very last moment. So I think that is what the BJP is trying to do as far as Delhi is concerned, uh, with this Swati Maliwal issue and all the other related issues.
Mr. Ansari, you wanted to say something, and I also, I want to add one more point for you to respond to while you're speaking. This is the first time that the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress are contesting Delhi together, which means they're not splitting votes between the two of them. So it's actually a binary for people who vote tomorrow: BJP or AAP plus Congress. Right? Do you think that's going to make a difference, Mr. Ansari?
Yes, that will make a difference. It would have made a this would have been a deadlier alliance had there been better teamwork between the two sides. There are still some there were still some issues. Kanhaiya Kumar did a very good thing. He went and met with Mrs. Kejriwal. Then even when Kejriwal came out, and Kejriwal went for a road show in Mr. Udit Raj's constituency. For some strange reason, Mr. Udit Raj failed to turn up. The Congress candidate from Chandni Chowk
Yeah.
didn't show while he was okay with Mr. Kejriwal, because a lot of the people who crossed over to the Aam Aadmi Party were originally from the Congress, so their tuning they were not on the same wavelength. So that being said, it has led to a consolidation of the minority vote, which would otherwise have been divided. They have done a much better job? 100%. But nonetheless, as far as this Swati Maliwal incident is concerned, distasteful as it is, they ought to have, Aam Aadmi Party ought to have handled this much, much better than they have done. They are now running for cover. They ought to have done a much better job of it. You have the aide had no business holding her by the arm and leading her out. In the chief minister's house, there are female cops as well. They could have done the job, assuming, if I were to buy the Aam Aadmi Party's argument, that she'd been set up by the BJP. Even in that case, there are ways of handling it. Whether to what extent this will affect their chances. Look, a lot of the Aam Aadmi support base is not from the chattering classes. The residents of Vasant Vihar, Maharani Bagh, and in West End and Ashok Vihar don't turn out in very large numbers to vote for Aam Aadmi Party. Their voters come from the middle class, lower middle class, and to them, it makes not much. It doesn't make much of a difference. I asked my maid today, and she said, "Nahi, hum to jhadu." Jhadu, because I asked Swati Maliwal, she hadn't heard about it. He says, "कौन है? पता नहीं, सच है, झूठ है, क्या है?" He said, "भाई हमें we are getting free water, free electricity, mohalla clinics. Our children are going to reasonably decent schools. Nobody else has managed to do this. So we will vote. We will continue to vote. The last 2 times we voted for Jhadu. This time also we will vote for Jhadu." So,
Mr. Ansari, out of the 7, which up till now the BJP has swept in 2 straight elections, the 7 seats, do you expect a different outcome this time?
I do expect a different outcome. It will not be 7-0 either way.
Okay. Aditya, what's your reading of Delhi? Are you voting in
Uh,
Delhi?
yeah, I'm voting in the Northeast Delhi, where Kanhaiya Kumar and Manoj Tiwari are contesting against each other. So it will be an interesting seat. Uh, uh, I agree with Mr. Ansari. It's not as it may not be as one-sided. The issue is, I think BJP won many seats by very huge margins. West Delhi, South Delhi, Northwest Delhi, in particular, the margins were smaller in Chandni Chowk, New Delhi. So I mean the calculation then would be that probably New Delhi, Chandni Chowk, Northeast Delhi might be slightly more achievable seats for the opposition. But I mean, if Delhi is a national bellwether kind of state, it has voted in the direction in which the national wave has gone. So it's also not a state where the battles are very localized. Not often do we see ki, okay, I don't like the national level candidate, but the local candidate is fine. Or if I like the national level PM candidate, but I don't like the local guy, so I'm not going to vote for him. One doesn't often see such kind of voting pattern, but obviously the Kejriwal factor and Kejriwal's arrest has really changed the landscape here, and people who have benefited from Kejriwal's rule, I think there could be a lot of sympathy for him among them.
Yeah,
So
Aditya, what I found interesting, sorry to interrupt you, is this, right? Up till now, the people of Delhi have had very sort of, they would vote for Kejriwal for state because that is what they wanted, and they would vote for Narendra Modi for the center. But Kejriwal has gone around saying, if you don't vote for me, I will have to go back to jail and I will no longer be your chief minister. So he's found a way through his campaign to sort of cross those wires and say, hey, if you want me to be chief minister, you have to vote for me in this election as well. Do you think that's a successful campaign? Or he
it's
might
a
have
effective, it's a strong pitch, and it really increases the stakes in this election, because otherwise people would have still gone and ahead and voted for Modi at the national level, and expected that okay, we can go back to Kejriwal anytime. So he's really increased the stakes here. The only difference is that Kejriwal doesn't have the element of bhakti that we see among Modi supporters. So I don't. So it remains to be seen how, what kind of what's the kind of swing, positive swing that the Kejriwal's appeal is going to bring for the India Alliance.
Mr.
Faye, I
Ansari.
just wanted to, yeah,
Yes.
of all these people, Kejriwal is not a career politician. I mean, he was an IRS officer who's only entered politics 10 years ago. But in this election, his interventions have been the most political. When he came out, he said, "You're not actually voting Modi because Modi will be PM
Yes.
only for a year. After 75, he'll go into retirement, and then Mr. Shah will come in." And then
Yes.
he is also tried to play fish in troubled waters as far as, I mean, it's an open secret that Mr. Yogi and Mr. Shah are both pretenders or contenders for a position for a scenario where Mr. Modi is no longer PM, and they would hope to succeed. So he's already tried to create a further schism by thereby saying that the next person on the hit list, first was Vasundhara, second was Shivraj Chauhan, next person will be Yogi. So, and now even on this, the point that Aditya was making, that if you want me to continue as CM, then vote for me. Otherwise, on the second, I have to go back to jail. So day after tomorrow, he'll go back to jail, and I will no longer be there to serve you. So he's made the political interventions. All the others, of course, are batting along stated lines. Rahul Gandhi, you know what to expect. He will go hammer and tongs. Tejasvi will speak of reservations. Akhilesh now start talking of PDA and stuff like that. DMK, Stalin, everybody. But Kejriwal has thrown in this googly, which the BJP took a day or two to realize what he was up to and then respond.
Sayantan, you want to respond to that, where you expect, the split of vote to actually turn, in the sense that And you're absolutely right, Mr. Ansari is right, because Kejriwal, not a career politician, sounding more and more like a politician. Also, Aam Aadmi Party's handling of the Swati Maliwal issue reeks of the kind of politics that they have stood against this entire time, right? Go ahead.
Yes, I think that the Aam Aadmi Party was not at all ready that this kind of situation will happen, and that also happened from a person like Swati Maliwal, who has been with the party from the in like much before inception, who has a wonderful, wonderful relationship with both Manish Sisodia and Arvind Kejriwal. So that is why the handling, they did not understand how to do that. And when they first thought that okay, we will handle it internally, and that's why I think Sanjay Singh ji met Swati Maliwal and resolved the issue, came out and given a statement press conference. But immediately second day, because he went to Lucknow and the picture and everything, Swati Maliwal, she went to the police and filed a complaint. They did not realize that it will happen. There was not like there are certain points which are coming here. I think like for the viewers also there are some clarities are needed because like that Swati Maliwal trespassed the
Yeah.
place. There is the thing.
Yes.
Okay, like because I was a fellow of the Delhi Legislative Assembly for 2 3 years. So like you cannot even go to 100 meters of Mr.
Yes.
Kejriwal's house if you do not have an appointment.
Yes.
If you are going to protest also, then also beyond 100 meters there are barricades. You will have to stand there. You cannot even go there and take selfies. The police will stop you outside the house. I'm talking about because there is the and after there was the Tejashwi Surya's team and all these people. They barged into the house, broken their gates and CCTV. So after that, the security is more tough now. So if there is no appointment or if there is nothing, the place which we have seen in the video, that the place where the Ambedkar's picture is there, which is
Yes.
the waiting room, that is beyond the camp office of Mr. Kejriwal. No, so you cannot enter there.
Hmm.
There are three levels of security who have given you clearance to enter
Also,
that part
also,
of.
and I completely agree. There's no chief minister's, camp office or home office that you can go anywhere near without clearing multiple levels of police, and they'll ask you where your appointment is, and someone will have to escort you in, and all of that. But fundamentally, Swati Maliwal has known the Aam Aadmi Party personally for 20 years. If she did show up without an invitation, or she showed up, she walked in without an appointment, how does that still justify any sort of allegation or assault? I don't understand. I don't understand that being a response to what her accusation
So
is. That for me, I found was a bit of a problem.
yes, yes, absolutely. Like it is like whatever the Aam Aadmi Party is saying, they are maybe addressing the people, their voters majority. So that is why they are saying all these things. But any person who understands this, they will understand that it is not possible. Like for example, I'm giving you, if you're entering the premise of Arvind Kejriwal's camp office or residence, okay, you cannot carry your pen, okay. You cannot carry your like mobile phone as a normal person. If you're going, if you do not have like just to meet or anything to greet, things like that, you cannot do those things. So Swati is carrying her mobile phone because she has made the call to the police like twice. So all these security checks and everything was done. And without appointment, without whatever the call, if there is no acceptance from the fact that okay, she can enter the premises from inside, it cannot happen. So I think so the handling of the entire Swati Maliwal case was very poorly done by the Aam Aadmi Party. And as far as they are saying that okay, she was pawned by BJP, and there is like till now, if you see that in yesterday's interview also, Swati Maliwal has not said a single hint of the fact that she has any inclination towards towards leaving the party or things like that. It is something. Maybe it was not a pre-planned thing. Of course, it was not, but it was something which went out of proportion, and the Aam Aadmi Party could not handle it. And another reason, I think I've written for the Quint also. The reality is that, some people are there in political life, people like this Mr. Kumar, the Bibhav Kumar. uh, Mr. Kejriwal is fully dependent on him, and so that's why he cannot, like excluding him from the campaign when he has only few days to campaign in Delhi, majorly, and after now the campaign is over in Delhi. So to leaving him, uh, it was like they cannot imagine that it is happened, because
So there
from
is
2000.
Yeah, so
So,
yeah, there's also a rumor, there's also a theory doing the rounds, and this is source based, that Swati Maliwal and Raghav Chadda were out of the country when Arvind Kejriwal was in jail. They did not express support even on social media. That seems to have angered the Kejriwals. They haven't been giving them appointments. There's a rift that predates this incident. Is that true, Aditya?
So Chadda did tweet in favor of Kejriwal when he was abroad. Obviously, then the length of his stay there has, of course, many people in the opposition did question. But he was apparently out on due to some issue with his eye, surgery with his eye. Swati Maliwal got the Rajya Sabha not very long back. I'm not sure whether it was. I'm sure it was pretty sure before Mr. Kejriwal's arrest, but she was was very much part of the party's not inner circle, but yeah, definitely the party's ranks until very recently. So if at all something has gone sour, I mean, it would have happened in the last 1 month or so.
Faith, there are
Yeah.
some dots that still need to be connected with this. I mean, like I said, it was what happened should never ever have happened. I mean, they handled it very badly, and it was despicable whatever happened. But there, we do not know the entire story. We do not know there is something. There are some things that still need to be unraveled. Why is it? I mean, suddenly, what happened? Why is
Yeah.
it that Kejriwal suddenly flew into a rage and said, don't allow her inside? There is something that has happened which we don't know. There are some dots that need to be connected.
There's another theory that Arvind Kejriwal wanted to offer that Rajya Sabha seat to Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who has gotten him out of jail. Is there any stock you place in that theory?
Look, there is no vacancy. If Arvind Kejriwal wants, so the theory is, and I know where it's coming from, that he wanted her to resign so that that seat could be offered to Abhishek Manu Singhvi. I mean, would the Congress party allow Abhishek Manu Singhvi to be? It's one thing to allow him to be elected with the help of the TMC. It's quite a different thing to allow him to be elected on a Aam Aadmi Party ticket. Would the Congress party allow that? That doesn't make sense. But there is a side to the story which we don't know. I don't know which we will ever know, but we do not know. There are some things which don't make sense. Look at the visuals. If you're beaten up and these things have happened, you're walking through Aram, say, you're with the phone in the hand, there's a lady cop with you by the side. So there are a lot of things. I mean, there are things that cannot be said. And the reason I'm not saying it is because I don't know if this is true or is this a plant or this is an inspired piece of news. But there are some dots that don't connect. There are some things that don't quite seem right.
Well, in the meantime, Delhi will vote tomorrow. So will the three gentlemen on this panel. So thank you so much for joining me and having this conversation with our audience, with us. Of course, at the end of the day, I would say our true loyalty is with the democracy. One hopes that we don't have the information to be able to say it conclusively because the ECI won't give it to us, but we hope it's a free and fair election. We want to trust that it's a free and fair election. That's all we can. I mean, at this point, it's faith because we can't say with empirical evidence that it is. But this
And
is
I
going
hope
to.
I hope that the three of us don't have to spend 2 hours in the polling station like you had to do.
Yes, it's actually in Mumbai because of the heat, and I'm hoping that Mumbai's experience now will be used as a learning for Delhi. There was it was really hot. People were standing in lines for more than 2 hours. There was no water, there was no shade in some cases. I had shade, and I think it was just poor planning because the same polling booths a couple of years ago we had no problem at all. So I don't know what was different this time, but it seemed to have been the case across the city. And incidentally, the voter turnout was poor, so it was not like there were large numbers to have been handled as well. So we don't really understand what went wrong in Mumbai, and we're hoping that you don't have the same experience in Delhi tomorrow. So as Delhi votes, gentlemen, thank you for joining us. And for our audience, remember, go to the Quint website. All of the information we talked about is being covered quite beautifully in. Sorry, that's my dog. All of the information that we talked about is being covered on the Quint website, also on their YouTube page. Take a look at the work they're doing. Download the Beatroot News app for news and updates. And hydrate. If you're voting tomorrow, carry some water with you. All right. Have a nice evening. Thank you for joining us.